What happened to the cool kids from your school after they graduated? Coolest kid in my school was one of those charismatic prodigies. He got full ride scholarships, he partied with the jocks, played magic with the nerds, talked to me about building computers and always kicked my butt at Counter-Strike. And he played 4 instruments before he was 15. I think he got a degree in chemical engineering, then went back for 1 year to get a music theory degree too. Then after 5 years of working he decided that he wanted to be a doctor, so he went back to med school and eventually started his own practice. Freaking dude had cheat codes on. One of those people you just kind of wish would go into politics. These are who cool kids should be. I think most of them have done very well. One of them, the best looking, most athletic boy in my school, died from ALS several years ago. That really rocked me for some reason. I didn't even really know the guy. He was cool, but he seemed like a decent person. Death is always the scariest when it happens to someone you would never consider dying. One went to jail for drug possession with intent to sell. One dropped out of college and works at a mall kiosk. And other quit his cushy corporate job and started a non-profit that provides shelter, food and job resources to homeless single mothers and their children. Most of them got into Ivy League schools, top private schools, and then landed 6-figure jobs after graduation in big cities. Jeez. Popular girl in middle school. She used to bully me since I was the shy, quiet kid with no friends. In high school, life got better for me and I wasn't bullied anymore. And I didn't see much of her. She got into drugs but remained the pretty popular girl with lots of friends. A few months after we graduated, she murdered someone, another kid our age, in a botched robbery with 2 of her friends. Rot in prison, Katie. RIP on a whole other level. One is dead. One is doing life in the federal pen for running a ring. The rest are just living the standard issue small town life. Well, the captain of the cheerleading squad left after graduation, but only long enough to go to university and get a teaching degree. She came back to the school as a teacher, became the faculty advisor for the cheerleading squad and recently retired. So, she stayed in high school for 30 years. This is why it's okay to peak after high school. Emotionally stunted addicts with numerous kids and no way or desire to support them. I think 2 of them actually moved off to college, didn't go crazy, graduated, got married, and are leading productive lives. Some of them became well-adjusted adults with successful careers and are very happy in life. Others though became total train wrecks. The group of girls I used to hang out with that were considered edgy and cool ended up being complete shitshows with serious alcohol and addiction problems. A lot of them suffer from crippling mental health issues as well. It's really sad actually, BC, they had so much promise and potential. I hope they get the help they need. For most, I genuinely don't know. For one boy, he had dreams of moving down south to get away from the cold winters, as well as experience life in a bigger city. A big aspiration was also to break into the music industry. A very polite, happy, charismatic boy that everyone liked. He did make it down south, had some steady work, and even was playing music here and there. You know how sometimes you get certain feelings about someone, but you don't know why. Little things they say and do just cause you to get a particular aura from them. I always got a feeling that he was carrying a lot of sadness internally. I remember him getting a little defensive about smoking marijuana, stating that he liked the way it made him feel. This feeling of joy led him down a destructive path of drug experimentation in order to find greater joy. He overdosed and died this past weekend. 90% of them are dead by drug overdose. I wasn't close to being a cool kid in school. I always say that if they were to do a reunion it would have to be at the cemetery. Sad but true. Yeah, the opioid epidemic hit hard. They all got fake tea, married old bald guys for a few years, popped out a kid or 2, then took off with half his money. Now they drink way too much wine, post about how being a stay-at-home mom is the hardest job ever and have leather skin and try to sell me makeup on FB. As far as I can tell, most of them went off to college, married each other, and moved back to our stereotypical new money southern WASP suburb. The guys sell real estate, sell insurance or sell cars. The girls are mainly nurses, interior designers, or also in real estate. They all look the same and they all still hang out together. You just described the entire suburban area of St. Louis. Basically, I don't really know about most of them. The one girl who was like the queen bee in my class ended up getting pregnant at 20 by her longtime boyfriend, returning home while she had the baby, and then finished school locally. I think she married the boyfriend and they're still married. I should look that up. Her son should be in his mid-20s now. I remember finding out about this when I was preparing for a semester abroad, and how different our lives immediately became. Another kid from a few years before me owns a bar and dabbles in music. Seems pretty happy. A girl from that same class, who was going to go out and conquer Broadway, ended up on a soap for a few years, then did audiobook narrations, ended up in Las Vegas. She's now divorced and from the little bit I've seen on Facebook, is not aging well. Met quite a fool, because, whoa, she was untouchable in high school. A couple of the popular girls came out as lesbians. Looking back, how did we not know? A few other people. I went to my 25th last year. Seemed to be normal suburban moms and dads, working, taking care of the house, etc, etc. Saw a couple of them on Imshmacked a couple years ago. Saw one who I was actually good friends with in middle school on campus and said hi. She completely ignored me, just like she had ignored my message offering to hang out when she transferred to my college. Saw another one and she literally asked me what time it was but didn't recognize me. Consider it a blessings. You wouldn't want friends like that anyway. Half of them ended up pretty good or okay, I'd say. The other half are either unemployed or work at the gas station or supermarket, which is totally fine but I feel they could have done more. Which is totally fine but I feel they could have done more. I mean, most people can do more if they care to. It's still honest work and whatnot, but few people's career has to end behind a register or stocking shelves. They stayed in our same boring town, in the same relationships, had babies at 18 or 19, joined MLMs and are now flooding my social media inboxes with messages that start out with, "Hey girl, it has been too long," and end with, "Would you like to host a party by my crap?" OMG, I have been getting a lot of those messages. So sad. Half of them sell crack, the other are SoundCloud rappers who smoke in mall stairwells. You figure out real soon being cool in high school doesn't mean much. I'm a SoundCloud artist working on a master's degree AMA. Jamie had a chance, well she really did. Instead she dropped out and had a couple of kids. Mark still lives at home cause he's got no job. He just plays guitar and smokes a lot of pot. Jay committed suicide. Brandon OD'd and died. What the heck is going on? The crowless dream. Reality. They got everything. The homecoming queen never went to college, went to the right bars instead, married rich and has a house that could be on a soap opera with a ton of land. She doesn't work. And they say God is fair. They're all addicts from what I've heard. I guess that's what happens when you start doing drugs at 14. It's unfortunate. They could have done so much, you know? Well, there were the actually cool kids who are now happy, successful people, with fulfilling lives. And then there were the not really cool kids who are in MLMs, engaged to convicted child molesters, or in prison for killing one of their kids while driving super high and drunk with 3 other small children in the car. The actually cool kids were kind to everyone, and everyone liked them because of it. The not actually cool kids took the stereotype to heart and lived it out, unfortunately. Our valedictorian was in all the sports. She got married to another girl. Beyond that, most seem to have gotten very boring jobs. Big G. Prom king died of an overdose at 30. Homecoming queen ran over a little kid in her car a year after graduation. She went to jail for a year or 2. Most of the other cool kids went to college, got normal jobs, and have pretty decent lives, or so it seems. Good looking spouses, nice homes, nice cars, a couple kids, etc. They all joined the army together. One is a paratrooper. The others are either Armored Corps or Air Force. One of them was in the medics course with me. They're all fairly happy and much nicer than I had remembered. They still meet up every now and then. One was in Forbes a few years ago due to her online pet store company being successful. One's an actor and was in a couple movies. One was in P for a little while. Not sure about the rest. I'm in my 50s, so some of the cool kids, along with the regular kids, have died of one thing or another. The ones who had wealthy parents are, as far as I know, still wealthy, either from learning the family business or through inheritance, or a combination of the two. Some of the women are still quite good looking, while some are not. Most of the guys are fat and or bald, although one guy moved out west where the sun shines and started a business that involves a lot of physical labor. He hasn't gotten fat or bald, but his skin is more sun damaged than average. As far as careers are concerned, I would say all of them have fared better than me, but that's a pretty low bar to hop over. In high school, our cool kids are actually smart and talented. Most of them are in med school and law school, and some of them are now successful in their respective fields. Brandon took my gaming laptop since he doesn't have a job, and his dad kicked him out. Jessica got pregnant like not even 6 months after graduating, and is no longer going on that awesome anime trip to Japan she always kept talking about. Paul was doing fine for a year, but then he got charged with grabbing an underage girl's boob with her dad watching, and he got out like 3 months ago. Nate is still in upper MI, and works at a brewery that I know of so far. I still have yet to take him up on that hangout sesh. Bethany did show up at my town one time since her brother was now clinically insane. I still had a crush on her though. She stayed the night at my place, and I dropped her back home the next day. She didn't talk to me after that. About a year goes by, and she is looking pasty white, and got fat, and has a kid as well. Brianna hasn't changed at all. She's still into her drawings, and I check out her DeviantArt page from time to time. Her sister went to a different country, Europe or something IDK, and is doing good. Freaking loudmouth Rowdy Kyle got put in the slammer because he punched a guy too hard at a party. The guy fell off a wooden porch and died. Steven just walked off the face of the earth. Not a single blip of info. Last info I got was a post he made on FB back in like 2012 talking about a football match. Jordan followed his scholarship through just like his dad wanted him to. I wanted him to stay in town, but who am I stop him from obtaining his dreams? I just wish he would visit so I could have a use for my second player controller. They look back at their glory days and wonder where it all went. 12 years of constant adulation from their peers. Parents and teachers all came to a screeching halt one evening in June. And just like that, it was over. Don't let this distract you from the fact that in 1966, Al Bundy scored 4 touchdowns in a single game while playing for the Polk High School. Marky got with Sharon and Sharon got Charisse. She was sharing Sharon's outlook on the topic of disease. Mikey had a facial scar and Bobby was a rapist. They were all in love with dying. They were doing it in Texas. Some will die in hot pursuit in fiery auto crashes. Some will die in hot pursuit while sifting through my ashes. Some will fall in love with life and drink it like a fountain that was pouring like an avalanche coming down the mountain. Jake and Ashley were married that spring. She immediately realized it was a mistake and began a decades-long affair, finally divorcing Jake and claiming sole custody of their child. Jake never saw his son again. The Rexter finally found the courage to tell his parents he was gay. They hung up the phone and haven't spoken to him since. Bookworm Beth went to Harvard and met the man of her dreams. He gave her HPV and borrowed $1,400 he has yet to pay back. Buck finally got his act together. Unfortunately, a truck accident would claim both arms and his wiener. He eats through a tube and pees through a different tube. After graduation, Emily was never seen again. If you have any information as to the whereabouts of this man, please contact the police. And of course Mrs. Henderson. She died alone. These were my best friends. I really miss them. It's too bad I drowned in a pool when I was 8. What the frick? A few are anti-vax moms, which is honestly the worst. Where we live, it's easy to fall into drugs, so a lot of the popular kids went that way. Lastly, our top athlete, who was super smart, dropped out of UC Davis to have a walk with Guy. Haven't heard anything from him since. Some went off to university, some community college, some would later drop out and start getting into hoodlum stuff I would up seeing via the local news, military, or just started working at the shipyard in our area, I suppose. This is the general gist of what happens to people from my home city. Knocked up her sophomore year of college, while working at Hooters. Dropped out, had another kid, no idea what happened long term. She was a straight A student in high school, going to a private university because her parents had money. It's crazy how she wasted those opportunities. His dream of joining the Air Force and becoming a badass fighter pilot was dashed when he failed the physical. After that, don't know. Dang, could have been the next Top Gun, what a shame. One girl works in a strip club now. One of the cliques still have their bonfire parties. Some of them are in decent colleges but with easy majors. One is a bartender. One high school is married now. The girl was a talented girl. She ended up having a baby and the guy, well, who knows what he does for money. He was always smoking weed. The girl is always trying to be a YouTube vlog mom. And another mom was an attractive girl but had a baby and is trying to be a viral mom on social media. Many of the athletes who thought were big shots go to local uni but nothing impressive. And others lost scholarships due to sexual activities with underage girls. They always had their thinking with the wrong head. The remainder are still in school pursuing their degree like me. Various stages of drug addiction, mostly addicts, rehab, or posting cliche stuff on social media about living that blessed life. Typical people that peaked in high school. Every single cool kid just parties all night and works minimum wage jobs in retail or some crap. Some of my friends were friends with them, so I get the occasional update, living with their parents and all such. 2 of them got felonies, one for vehicular manslaughter and is doing time, another for felony trespass and criminal mischief. Another one has 2 DUIs under her belt. You could say they really made the most of their dreams to be successful. Valedictorian went to school to become an elementary school teacher. This past year was her first one teaching. From what I heard, she doesn't want to go back. Kid I knew in middle school is becoming really famous for doing stunts like drinking stupid amounts of alcohol. If you ever hear of Stavuildoid, that's him. Of the ones who did graduate, one committed criminal damage to property, knocked up some woman 10 years as senior, and then started going bald. The other has been arrested 5 times for DWI, and convicted of at least 2, and probably a 3rd. In this state, the 4th is a felony. He was actually on trial for 2 separate buoys at once. He also hasn't held a valid driver's license in nearly a decade. At my school, all of the popular kids were well-rounded individuals. The ones I still see on Facebook seem to be doing well. In my experience, the bitchy and mean popular kids were in middle school and they were not popular in high school. I don't know what happened to them. I bumped into one like 5 years back. Still super beautiful, still really nice. She seemed to be doing very well from our short chat. Most of them are married, have good jobs and led successful lives. I was a loser back then, still now. My only upside is that I'm not a negative influence on society. I can pay my bills. Barely. Don't accept freebies and that's about it. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.